What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another live Live to Roll. We got an awesome group podcasters here today because we're all living that podcast life. But we'll get into some
What's up,
intros here in
everyone?
a second. So we'll do a couple quick intros and then we'll let you guys do a little bit more intros and then we'll get into your stories and everything. So I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic. I got injured in a snowboarding accident almost 20 years ago now. So Bobby, you want to go ahead, and then Tom can introduce,
Sure,
get into the
sure, not a
guest.
problem. Hi, I'm Bobby Rohan, C5, C6 quadriplegic of 35 years or 34 and a half, whatever it is, and living here in Southern California. Take it away, Tom.
What's up, everybody? Shout out Darren and Mike in the chat and everybody in the chat. I'm Tom Conaway, C6B quadriplegic for the last 26 years. And yeah, we're talking with some other cool cats from the disabled community. Our friends Doug and Eric from the Walk and Roll podcast. I think Shawn got a chance to meet these guys at Abilities Expo or something similar.
It was
What
the Ontario Inland
yeah,
Empire
was it?
Disability Expo out here in
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess they got to talking and got connected. And yeah, Doug, you and Eric have a passion for um, sharing and inspiring and educating other individuals in the disabled community as well. Am I correct?
That is right. Yep, absolutely.
And,
I was. You
I
want to
was
go,
just going to
Eric?
say, before we dive on
How you doing,
into,
Eric? How you doing, guys? My name is Eric Aguilar.
there you go.
I have cerebral palsy and I'm hard of hearing in my left ear. And I live in Southern California.
Awesome. And you, Doug?
Doug, me, I'm a polio survivor. 1956 is when I contracted polio at a year old. So 67 years in the life.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've experienced a lot of change, I'm sure,
Oh,
not only
yeah.
in like healthcare, but also in accessibility and the ADA and everything like that. It's
All of that. Yeah.
pretty cool. Well, that's something we talk about a lot is, our shared experience, our lived experience. I think at uh, the lowest is like Sean's like with 20 years under his belt, being
No,
disabled. So a lot of us, do talk about that kind of like longer lived experience too. But that's how we learn and uh, can help. I think others benefit a lot from that lived experience. So why don't you talk about the show, how you got started, and how you and Eric got connected, maybe?
Well, I actually started it about probably 12 years ago, and I did it for a while, and then life got busy, and I just couldn't keep up with it, and I didn't want to get back to it until I could really do it on a consistent basis. I wanted to do it at least once a week, and oddly enough, through COVID, I kind of learned because I got out of the radio business a few years ago, so I didn't have the equipment. I used to record phone calls and things there, but I didn't have the equipment. So COVID kind of helped out. Everybody learned how to Zoom, and then I learned I can extract the audio from the Zoom, and so it made it much easier to have a guest. And also, I wanted to do it with guests. You know how it is. It's great to have other
Yeah.
guys to bounce things off of and all that. So I met Eric through Possibilities, and I thought this guy's just so energetic and enthusiastic, and I thought he would make a great partner. So I asked him, and sure enough, he said yes. And so we've been going back at it about 3 to 4 or 5 months ago now. So just
And
like you guys, just want to share the stories of the disabled community.
what is possibilities?
Possibilities is an organization that started, 20 years ago,
It started about
probably
30.
about
Doug, it started, I think, about 30 right after I was injured.
because I know I started with them in 2006, and I started doing the triathlons, and yeah, they had been going for a while. They used to do a triathlon, 3 different triathlons throughout the area, and so that's through the radio station. I got gifted a hand cycle, and then to promote the triathlons, they would kind of follow along with me on the radio, and and getting doing my training and then doing the race and all that stuff. But they basically what they are is an organization that people that well, it's really grown since then. But initially, it was an organization that helps people who go through these traumatic injuries with peer support. You know, helping them realize that there is a life after injury.
Yeah.
Because Eric, Shawn, and I talked about this earlier today on Walk and Roll Live, where that happens, and your first thought is life's over, right? And also, I talked to Shawn about this. I grew up with it, so I didn't have that cut going from tooling around, walking, running, doing all the sports and all that stuff, and then that was all taken away. So I've grown up with it. So for folks that come to it later, you need some help emotionally, I think. I think for me that was the easy part. But so there's a whole support group, and through sports, if you can show somebody that they can do sports, that opens up, thus the name, the possibilities for the rest of your life.
Yeah. No,
Let me ask you a
absolutely.
question, Doug. If
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, so one quick question. Starting off in the radio, how old were you when you got into the radio business, and what type of radio did you do?
I was 21. It was 1977 is when I started. I'd gone through a broadcast workshop and then, started working in a small station on the Central Coast overnight for a couple of nights a week, and then just kind of grew from there. Was up there in the Central Coast 8 years before I moved down here. And when I start, when I got done with the broadcast workshop, they have a placement director, and you come in and he does an interview and just wants to know different things as he looks for work for you. Where do you want to go? And I said, I want to stay in California. What kind of stations do you want to work for? And I said anything but classical or country. And so I go to work for this station, and I think I started on the Labor Day weekend, and December 1st, it was kind of a pop rock station. December 1st, they changed the format to country. And it actually worked. It worked out to be a good thing because everybody bailed out of that station. All the people that were there, the full timers that worked for a rock station, they immediately left. So that just opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So I quickly
There you go.
started getting full time shifts and moving up. Yeah, so it worked out all right. So I
Sweet.
ended up doing country for years, and I loved it. It took me a while to adjust and kind of learn to appreciate it and love it, but I love it now.
No, I love it too. It wasn't K Frog, was it?
No, no. Well, I did for 24 years. Yeah, that's where I ended up after a few
Really?
years. But
Yeah, so you were.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's why I recognize your voice so much, because I barely get it here, but I love country. I like listening to it since
yeah.
uh, the uh, just before Garth Brooks and all that started getting into that era. So yeah, I'm like, your voice sounded so familiar. So awesome.
I was
Um,
Doug E. Frog.
Doug E.
what is,
Frog, I like it.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know you. Oh my God.
I know a Doug E. Fresh, and he's a pretty cool dude. Shout out Judith in chat. What's up, Darren? Thank you everybody for joining in. We appreciate you guys. Please feel free in the chat to say what's up to us, to ask any questions you guys might have, or if you want us to maybe touch on or bring up anything too, please feel free. We appreciate the comments and knowing that you guys are out here because this is who we do it
there's our
for.
friend
Uh,
Judith.
Yeah.
Want to
but
say hi to Judith and Darren, our friends?
how about you? How about you, Eric? Um, who are you?
Tell,
What's your story,
yeah,
my
tell us
man?
a little bit about
Me,
you.
my story begins back in 1988. I was born prematurely. The organizations of my disability was never really mentioned or brought up until the second episode of Walking Around Life. And after my story came about, a lot of people were surprised and a little shocked and didn't look at me any different. As a kid, though, I had no understanding of my own disability or how it came about. But when I got into my second year of college, I did some research on my own disability, and I was seeking answers. during a medical terminology course. But after years of not having any answers, I realized, if there was a magic pill that could get rid of my disability forever, I would take a look at the pill for one solitary second and then just toss it and say, if it hadn't been for my disability in the first place, who would I be? Over the
Yeah.
years, I've transformed my disability from a blessing to a curse. I mean, to a blessing.
Yeah, no, I think about that a lot too. I mean, it definitely, our experiences in our life, they define us and they shape us and they make us who we are, right? And I think there are a few things as impactful as um, disability, and how it affects your life and how it changes you and how it shapes you and how it redefines you. Depending on when you got it, and how long you had it. But I similarly to you and Doug, I was injured when I was 4 years old, so I haven't had it since birth. But pretty much all my memories and majority of the experiences I can recollect have been with my disability as well. So I I always think it's super interesting to know others' experiences. Particularly you, Doug. Having grown up in, I mean, really a different time. When I don't think there was as much recognition, support of one's disability. So, just if you don't mind me picking your brain about it a little bit too. What was that like for
Open
you?
book.
And we'll get to you too, Eric. But what was your experience like growing up with your disability?
Well, I had a brother that also contracted it at the same time, which I didn't
My
really
my
realize
experience
until
growing
years
up,
later.
let's
I,
just say it wasn't really easy. Me growing up with my disability,
Uh
I
huh.
had to conquer a lot of obstacles to get where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Eric, was it you or was it you, Doug, that have two other brothers that are disabled?
think it's Eric. Yeah.
Eric, okay.
Me,
And then,
I
but you
have
had another.
two younger brothers with the same type of disability, I have, which is cerebral palsy. One has plegia where it affects both legs and one body, and then one's has monoplegia where it affects one leg. Me, on the other hand, I have what they call hemiplegic that affects only the right side of the body. And
That's
years later, I was diagnosed with the first stage of arthritis in my right hip joint, and now my knee is deteriorating with more arthritis, and now I use a walking stick that I use to help me with my disability, if you will. I use my walking stick still. And one of the funny things was before COVID, I was a disabled athlete at my state with mud runs. But after COVID hit and everything got shut down, I found my new passion into teaching. I teach emergency preparedness for people with disabilities on Zoom on behalf of a couple of organizations to help people with disabilities, as well as the podcast. And I'm also a proud a veteran in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary going on 7 years.
awesome.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah, that's
awesome.
really cool.
And your disability happened because of lack of oxygen. Was that what I learned from you on your podcast, Eric? Was it because of lack of oxygen, Eric,
To
when
this
you were
very
born?
day, I can't really figure out where cerebral palsy comes from. Some say it's hereditary, others say it's genetic, and it happens a lot in premature birth. And it was lack of oxygen because what happened was they took me off the ventilator machine too early because they thought my lungs were mature enough, but it turned out they weren't. And this was back in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Another side effect of my disability origins is that my blood wasn't able to reproduce like it was supposed to. So a blood transfusion kind of saved me from total destruction back in the 80s.
Oh wow.
Definitely. So, Doug, and now you have another brother with post polio, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Or polio.
Yeah.
Do you call it post polio or
Polio.
polio? Yeah.
Well, originally, yeah, I got polio, and then now probably for the last 20 to 30 years that post polio has set in, where you just kind of wear out everything, and the nerves that you had. I read a book and I got into deep into the science of it all, but it's remarkable what the body will do. You have nerve endings, and that's what polio does. It kind of kills those nerve endings, but your body has the nerve endings can grow to those areas that need it, that where the nerve endings have died. So, but you start with a whole lot less, and we all wear them out, right? And we just have less to start with. So what happens is you start to get some weakness as you get older. To answer Tom's question, when we were in school, we started in a school for disabled kids. I'm not sure what they called it back then, but up until about fifth grade. And we never had that conversation with my folks. I don't know. I just remember as a kid that they were going to mainstream us, and our doctor at the time kind of helped that process. But we started going to mainstream school in the fifth grade, and you know, it amazes me now that we haven't come further, to tell you the truth, in a lot of areas of disability, because I went to a regular gym class, and my classmates and the teacher would kind of do workarounds so that I could be a part of the activities. I would play flag football with them, where I would run out for a pass on my crutches, and all I had to do was like hold up my crutch and hit the ball, and everybody knew that meant I had the ball. And then I'd start to try to run, and they'd all gather around me and pull off my flags. But I was participating. And there were no real adaptive class. Adaptive class back then was you went to a room somewhere that they weren't using, and all the disabled kids went into the room and just sat around. I mean, they didn't even provide us with any games or anything. We just kind of killed it 45 minutes in this room, and
Yeah,
then going
well,
on to
I mean, equitability and integration into normal socialization is super super important. And I mean, I think was originally my mom was super awesome in advocating for me and ensuring that I was in like a normal social environment, which kind of been like a normal classroom, and any accommodations that I needed, they could be brought into a no, into a regular classroom versus like me going to maybe like a more accessible environment, which was like the special education. Now, don't get me wrong, the special education program in like my district, and I'm sure like nowadays is awesome. And but it's also important that uh, kids who are able to be in a more normal environment, that they should be encouraged to, and just fully accommodated in that environment as well, which is something that I think is more recent and newer, because there's like just better recognition, there's better education surrounding disabilities, physical disabilities, different, cognitive dysfunction, and how, that affects and what it means for, the environment that, you should be in. But it's great to see a lot of change, and I think that's just because the good people out there. But what was your experience with that? I mean, I still face very similar things in like my physical education classes and stuff, where it was just kind of like the teacher most of the time trying to like accommodate and include me as much as possible. And I did similar things like that, but I yeah, no, I still got a very, I was very grateful for the education that I got. And I was accommodated very well, but it wasn't without, I think, a lot of work and advocacy on the part of my mom to like ensure equitability and like accessibility, which didn't exist, I think, for a lot of people. Still doesn't, unfortunately.
it's been a long time since I've been on a campus. I don't know if Eric has any thoughts on this. It seems like it's a bit better now, but I
It,
think you're right, Tom. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been on a campus myself because what I remember is that during COVID, a lot of schools were starting to shut down. But one of the cool thing was that even the schools were adapting to video chat. But even so, I think it's changed a lot more, even with the technology, because even with the post staging of COVID, people have the option to still whether to attend classes online or in person.
Yeah, that makes accessibility a lot easier for people.
Yeah.
Well, it's like kind of like two sides of a coin because one, it's what Doug said earlier, and like I think COVID educated a lot of us on how easy it is to connect with one another through these means, right? And it's a powerful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing that's like lived to roll. It brought out like and lived to roll and brought us and connected us together. And sounds like it was similar for your show too that you do, Doug and Eric, but. It also, I think, is speak to Eric's point as well as can be very isolating because it's only a connection through a screen at the end of the day. Now, the opportunity that that brings and presents, I think, is awesome and shouldn't be disregarded or ignored because we embrace it and it lets us connect with people everywhere, all around the world. But we talk about all the time here too how important it is to connect with your community in person as well, even if it's just one other person or a group of other people. It's a very healing, powerful thing. Now, online support groups and stuff, I think can serve and do serve a great purpose, but I think it's super important to get connected in person too.
How was that for you? Because I think that's really interesting for both of you guys to have siblings that were disabled as well. Um, like, and I'm sure for you, Doug, especially back then, you didn't have much of a community. So did you and your brother kind of, and for you, Eric, do you guys just kind of like, feed off of each other, help each other? Like, was that your just first kind of disability community? You guys were able to learn from each other and kind of like, work through things together?
Well, for me and my brothers, we kind of went our own ways and kind of chose our own paths. And as crazy as it may sound, we kind of developed a sibling rivalry over the years.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I got older how important it was. You know what I mean? And I think a part of it wasn't because we just kind of did our own things, but I think this there was a feeling that somebody understands me, gets me without us having to even get into a whole conversation. And we still do that to this day. Especially as the onslaught of post polio. Now we've got a whole new set of symptoms that we're both dealing with, and it's hard to describe it to somebody. And you don't want to sound like a whiner, with all the pain and weakness and the struggle, And so, but he gets it, and we can have those conversations, and it doesn't have to be a long conversation. It could be shorthand, like I say, because he gets it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
so you
helpful.
don't have to go on with a lot of explanation. Um,
Hmm.
so, so COVID hits. You decided to get back into this podcast with Eric, and you thought he would make a great show. Yeah, Eric. And uh, looking at your shows, and I listened to probably about 6 or 7 of them over the weekend. And um, one thing I noticed, Shawn, Tom, and I, we have spinal cord injury. A lot of times we gear it towards around spinal cord injury. You guys are all over the gamut of with people with different disabilities. A lot of times that things that we've never heard of, similar to what Eric has a different form of CP than most. So I really found it interesting. So where was the what was your idea for the show and how did you want the show to go? Because I noticed it's like always about an hour, maybe a little over an hour, and right to the point. So tell us a little bit about the show.
I think what I envisioned to start off with is I wanted to have a place where all the different disabilities can have a place to tell their stories, like we were just talking about. Day to day life, you don't want to go into all your trials and tribulations. Somebody says, how you doing? You say fine, generally, right? Everybody does that. But this is a place where you can, I give you the opportunity to tell all your struggles, the hard times, the good times. I mean, there's been some incredible stories just in the short time that we've been doing this, and it's changed me in a lot of ways, and it still continues to change me that I wasn't really prepared for. Like I say, I grew up in I guess, my own little world, and just, I guess you say, overcame whatever my challenges were, and and went on, and got through school and started a career and, worked at that career for years to the best of my abilities without really being a part of this community, to tell you the truth. And it wasn't until um, probably possibilities that I really kind of got back into it. And what's happened with the podcast and in social media too is that I'm seeing what the community is doing. I see guys like you that are talking about all of these issues and doing how-to videos on how to transfer. I've been doing that for so long. I never even thought about that. So to see those kinds of simple yet so important on two fronts. You can help somebody else that is, new to this life, and you can show them how to transfer and some little tricks. But then it also shows able-bodied people what our day-to-day lives are,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's so
It must be really interesting to now get back involved with the community after so many years. Kind of one of our other mates that we have on our Live to Roll channel, he didn't get back into he never was in that much of the community, disabled community, and then all of a sudden he versed himself about 5 years ago, and he's just like, man, I wish I would have done this a long time ago. But he had to wait. He waited until he was retired, and it sounds like it's pretty similar to you.
yeah. And that's why ideally I'd like for us to do 3 to 4 individuals and tell their stories to every one organization. But I'm finding that people are a little shy, then and that's a tough story to tell for some people. So some people are still, kind of wrapping their head around it and say, I'll tell you when I'm ready, that kind of thing. And then other people jump in. So
Yeah, I mean, I found that that's been my major experience with Live to Roll too, is hearing the human stories and the human experiences. Like I love to learn, and I've found like this wealth of resources and information from like connecting to the disabled community and like befriending other individuals. Kind of just like what you said, about your brother. Like there's something very unique and powerful to like knowing somebody that understands. You don't need to explain something with a lot of words because they have the benefit of the lived experience and really knows they get it. And that being able to relate to somebody in that way is special and it's powerful. And being able to have the excuse of like being on here on Live to Roll and um, talking to other unique and intelligent and amazing, beautiful, like inspiring people, and hear about their story and their experiences. It's powerful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I don't know. It's just like what you said too. Is like I've learned so much, and I've like continued to learn so much, and it's yeah, it's a special thing, and I think it's a powerful thing too, as you said as well, for individuals without disabilities to be able to connect and learn and consume. It's like the iceberg of like, what somebody's disability, right? Like what you can see, just from like seeing somebody and like what's perceived, right? But there's so much below the surface, in terms of like the obstacles and overcoming all this stuff and the ins and outs and the day-to-day part of it and the struggle and like all the bullshit that comes along with it. It's important to talk about that. It's important to make that relatable and understandable to other individuals as well, because many of those individuals might have somebody with a disability in their life that they could then benefit from hearing and learning from another individual's experience. Or I mean, we talk about it on the show all the time too. It's like there aren't too many disabled people making policy or making decisions that generally affect our life and how we operate and function. So any opportunity to create and learn or like showcase and share one's experience and help educate others, I think is how we make a better future for us. It's because there's no other way it's going to happen. There's no other way, because like people need to learn to know. And thankfully technology is such a powerful tool in that regard. But I'm going to stop talking and shift to somebody else.
we could do a whole show on people making decisions able-bodied people making decisions about, disabled people and what they need. Just there's examples of that all the time as they kind of move about the community at large.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So where do you get your guests from, Doug?
What do I what?
Where do the guests come from? Is it people you know or run
Well,
into, kind of like you did with Shawn today?
yeah, a lot of it has been that, through my work with uh, possibilities and Rolling Start. I don't know if you've heard of Rolling Start. It's another
Mm,
organization in San Bernardino that they're what's called an independent living center. There's 28 throughout the state, and they're
yeah.
also across the country. Yeah, and so that was the
Shout,
thing. Probably
can
10
we
years
shout
or a little
out?
more. Say
Can
again.
we shout out? Can we shout out the Centers for Independent Living? For anybody that doesn't know about those places, they're an
Yeah.
incredibly powerful resource, particularly if you're working on becoming independent and moving out, or you just find yourself in a situation, a living situation you're not comfortable with. They can help you, and their job is to help individuals get into comfortable living situations to be successful and independent, and whatever your goals are in that regard. So it's just something to Google and check out if that's something you're thinking about. Okay, sorry, back to you, Doug.
No,
Just
no,
want
you're good, Tom. I think I've just found a new board member. I think we're doing
okay.
recruitment now. You absolutely are right. It's one of the best kept secrets, and that's our focus, is to make sure that people with disabilities live the most independent life of their choice. And whenever I say that, I always tell people that choice is the most important word in that sentence, because with the disabled community, we've all shared some form of that.
My mom
And
always would get, "How's Tom doing today?" And she would
right
go,
when
"Why
you're
don't
right
you?" She's
next to
like, "Why don't
Tom.
you ask him?" Like
Yeah. So, one of the things that we do is if somebody is living independently and circumstances is putting them at risk for having to end that and go to a facility or something, we can help with that. Say you need a ramp or something like that, we can do that. And if somebody is living um, in a facility and we can help them live independently, we can also do that. But when I first started there, I was surprised there was even this is how naive I was. I was surprised there was such a need. I was, like I say, out kind of not really involved with the community, but my experience that I was sharing earlier from school, where everybody was helping out, and really, we're still fighting this fight all these years later, and unfortunately, yeah, we are.
Mhm.
But
And
I
I
feel
think,
like it's getting better.
and I think we will for a long time,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
but
it's
and
like
I
an
think,
interesting thing though. Like I mean, as we all get older, inevitably, whether we're disabled or not, like during our life, like I think many of us face at the end of our life, right? Um, and creating, like an accessible world and better healthcare and better everything for individuals with mobility, issues and any kind of disability. It's like building and creating a world for everybody in the future because at some point everybody is going to need a wheelchair. Everyone's going to need a bed that can like lead up, or just some kind of accommodation or accessibility or something. So it just seems
absolutely.
so kind of counterintuitive to me to like, I don't know, just not think about it. And as we like build and plan, like that's just at the top of the list. Is like we build and plan for like equitability and accessibility, right? But again, it is, you're probably right, it is something that we're probably going to need to continue to fight for forever, or not, or for a very long time. But it's important to continue having the conversation too, just like what you said, like being able to have a conversation regularly, being able to do something like this, every couple times a week, to be able to come on and talk. And much of our talk isn't so much in regards to like change or like accessibility and like all that stuff, but it's talking about living with disability and having the continued conversation long into the future is how change comes about, because people do listen and people do learn. It just takes time for that
Yeah.
to happen.
And
Uh,
that kind of goes along with, a lot of our society. If it's cancer, gay rights, African American, it's always going to and on our platform, it's being disabled, and there's many more that I didn't mention. And I think that's driving the message that that there's change for what we need, and just like any of those other organizations, they need it as well. And I think, as long, look how long we've been, still fighting for Black Lives Matter. It's just endless every day when you're going, God, this is still going on, and it's still going on with the disabled community, that we still don't have everything and all the fair rights that we want. And I think with shows like yours and ours, and there's a couple more that we've had on the show that are just, getting the word out there and trying to make a change, and for somebody to just take a second and rethink.
I
Yeah.
think about it all the time. Go ahead, Doug.
I was just going to say, the disability rights movement came out of the civil rights movement. Kind of one came right after the other, and I heard it said one time that you can't have equity without disability. And it's right in there with everything. It's in the mix. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I we are so. I mean, I'm so fortunate and blessed and privileged to be in the situation I am, and to have awesome support and parents that enabled me to be independent, and push me to just like what you said is like make decisions for myself, and like have like give my voice to advocate, represent for myself and stuff. But even a small hiccup in my care, like one of my caregivers goes out of town for a week and stuff. I'm like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do? Like it can be like, and of course, like it's simple, figure it out, whatever. But the point I was trying to demonstrate is that even a small change, can like feel big for me. It can stress me out. It can like, give me anxiety, and like really kind of mess my routine and how I schedule my life and what I do. I think about what's happening around the world. For individuals in like Russia and Ukraine, and in Palestine and in Israel, and like world conflict and stuff is major, major, major interruption to care services and healthcare services and doctors,
Yeah.
and everything that they need and stuff. And it's just like, wow. I mean, it breaks my heart to think about, but also at the same time, like I can't even begin to imagine like the horror and the stress, and
Yeah.
how many people like are just suffering by nature of like services and things stopping because of like other overlying conflicts affecting them. And I don't know, it's just wild. It's just wild to me. And you're right. I mean, equitability and disability are like one and the same. And not I'm it's not the conversation's not meant to get political or anything, but um I think at the end of the day, just like what Bobby said, there's so many civil rights movements and so many human rights movements, because at the end of the day, that's what they are. There are human rights to be who we are, believe what we are, live the way we want to, as long as it's not harming others or hurting any other people and stuff. And it's so confusing to me how we just can't see or know or feel that at the end of the day, no matter who you are, where you are, what you are, we are all brothers and sisters in humanity. We are all human being at the end of the day. We all want
Yeah.
love. We all need a little support every once in a while. We're all there to support everybody else once in a while too. It's just like how can things be so off? Like how, I don't know. It's just so wild to me.
If I may say, um, to your point, is and I wanted to say this as we're having this conversation. We're talking about the challenges and all of those things, and how far we have to come in the advocacy and all of that. But I think it's not an adversarial relationship. It's not us against the able-bodied world. We are fully, reaching out to say, let's do this together, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
We don't look at them as the enemy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I
Because
100.
anytime any able-bodied person can become disabled. I mean, it
Yep.
happens every day, like there's like
Mhm.
somebody new right now got a new disability, and their life is forever going to be affected,
And eventually, almost
by,
everybody ends up in the
Yeah,
disability community at some point
yeah,
in their life.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
might be
Yeah,
like,
no matter, yeah. My mom and dad, one has Alzheimer's and dementia, and the other one has dementia and or not post. I'm sorry. Uh, no, I'm forgetting her disability off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
both my parents have two different types of disabilities. That one, in my mom, Parkinson's. I'm sorry, and
Okay.
yeah, and so hers came on a while ago and now it's progressing, but now they both are dealing with this Alzheimer's dementia kind of thing. And they're, early 70s, yeah, or mid 70s, I should say, but it's too soon, too soon.
Yeah, and these
And
days that's pretty young, really.
yeah,
Right?
you know,
Yeah.
and it's,
uh,
it's, it's amazing that, people don't early on in their stage set up for when they get older for more of getting life insurance to pay for these kind of things, or thinking about the future. And that's, I think we're going to get into a pretty big mess when we for our younger generations that get older, that doesn't save money, and doesn't look at it that this disability can happen in a split second, because when it happens, the cost, and you probably know, Doug, and we
Yeah.
know for sure it is not cheap to be disabled.
Well,
It's
my daughter learned that lesson very early. She got diagnosed with diabetes when she was 28. And, so she talks about it all the time. Her friends who feel like they're invincible, right, at that age. And she learned the importance of having insurance. She meets diabetes is ridiculous. She meets her deductible within like the first 30 days of the year. The insurance companies are even like, what, how did you do this? She has to fight with them sometimes, but she says, her friends sometimes don't even have insurance, and they don't feel it's that important. They're young and healthy. She says, you never know. You never know.
no, and I just retired, and I work, part time to pay for my secondary insurance. All my part time money goes to my secondary insurance
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I want to go to the doctor I want to go, and I don't want the copays, and you know, I don't want a hospital bill after I get out of the hospital for somebody that, like
Yeah.
myself, that might have to go to the emergency and has many times, for this or that. So, it's like, hey, it's this, back and forth. And then I look around going, oh my God, you guys, you didn't have anything when you got hurt. Oh, and you just feel so crushed, and trying to
Yeah.
set up for the future is something we also can teach the able body, and
Hmm.
they learn from us. And I don't think I don't think that's talked about enough, and might be
I'm
a
with
good.
you.
that's what,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk to like a buddy who's like talking to insurance because his mom's in a nursing home and she's newly disabled and dealing with this stuff for the first time and overwhelmed, so he's helping her out, right? And he like called me up, asked me some questions. It's like, bro, it's like it's so confusing. Like, how do you even know? Like, I've talked to a dozen different people, and they keep like telling me to go back and talk to these other people, and nobody seems to know. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like there's no logic in any of it. Like, it's kind of crazy. And I mean, that's the thing is like, I think at some point, everybody, everybody comes across it. Everyone feels it, right? I am again in a very blessed and fortunate position here in California to have access to the healthcare that I do, and I've been using it lately. I've been using it to the max. I've been advocating for myself and fighting for my rights for some rehab. Even though I'm like pretty long time into my disability, trying to like feel better, like physically and mentally, and take good care of my health well into the future, and I'm like really trying to think about it and plan for that and take action right now, and it hasn't been letting me down. I've been getting my approvals. I've been going to my PT. I've been going to my different stuff, and it's been working, and um, it's been a long time like learning and working my insurance, and you know educating my doctor and finding a good doctor who's on my team and has good staff who's willing to like you know work with the insurance and make the phone calls and do the work on their end to, again, like help represent for me and stuff. And it is possible, but again, like this is, and it's like it feels like years and years and years of work and years of education and years of advocacy. And again, it's also like still being kind of like a fortunate position with like a private insurance and stuff. And it's not easy. It's not easy until it's easy, until it exists where it's easy. And like the mental toll and the mental stress of like dealing with healthcare like doesn't have adverse side effects on your physical well-being and your overall mental health and stuff, then it needs to change. And it needs to be fair, and it needs to be more accessible, and it needs to be more equal, equitable for everybody, meaning the healthcare that services, the millionaires, the billionaires, is the same healthcare that services, the poorest person, because we have the resources and we have the medicine and we have the infrastructure, but we still like pick and choose and deny and make things difficult. I think on purpose because greed rules all, the almighty dollar rules all. But I really do believe that humanity has the capacity to change that. Even if it does take a long time. I am so hopeful that like as we advance with technology and we come to create better tools and easier ways to treat people and take care of people and stuff, that it will become more accessible and better. But who's to know?
Sometimes I
Um,
wonder if they don't design it that way, you know, being complicated. It feels that way sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
I
does.
think it does. That helps keep people out, keep people away from, unless you really do put in the effort. I just want to
well,
shout out to a couple people in the chat. Thank you earlier, Jeff and WJ Weaver, for the super chats. We appreciate you guys, and everybody else in the chat that's throwing some info and stuff in there for the conversation. Thank you guys. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
yo, we do appreciate you a lot. Your guys is, I mean, we appreciate everybody watching. Even if you're just a silent watcher, we appreciate
Yeah.
you being here. And I hope you're enjoying the show and hope you're learning something, and gain something from this, because that's why we do it. It's for you guys. Maybe a little selfishness for us too. Makes me feel good to come on here and hang out with my friends and talk to you guys. But it just means a lot that y'all are here listening to.
S-
Um,
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask something? Just
Yeah.
one thing that we haven't gotten to yet, but I'd like to, is to do a live show. So can we ask if anybody has any questions for us? I think
Yeah.
Eric had to leave.
Okay. I was gonna ask, was he gonna try to pop back on, or did he have to go?
He just said he got to go. He sent me a message on the chat.
Well, we
Um,
love you, Eric. It was really great hearing from you, dude. And your pod is awesome. And yeah, I look forward to talking in the future for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
um, and Brianna, I usually break down multiple times before I get what I need from your healthcare. And yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's like the experience for most people. And I don't know. So if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to ask it as we approach the end of the show. I got one question for Doug. I always like to toss at her, I guess, at the end. But yeah, no, it's. I used to make this joke, like when the insurance would deny me stuff, like things like wheelchairs and catheters and therapy and doctors, specialists and things like that. I'd be like, do they want me to die? Like, do they want me to die? Because I feel like in order for me to operate, at least like as long as I hope to live into the future, like, yo, I'm gonna need some help and I'm gonna need some access to some cool new medical technology and some cool technology that'll enable me to be independent and functional and safe and stuff. Like, why are they saying no to me? And then I don't know, it kind of dawned on me. It's like, well, maybe they do a little bit of, like the longer I live, the more I cost them money. Um, I'm going to cost them a lot of money for a long time if I live long, and if I intend to receive the services necessary to, enable the highest quality of life possible for me, and also, like the healthiest, like safest life possible, um, and independent and everything, because that's my human right. It's going to be a high dollar bill. Hard to even gauge. Um, so, so yeah, remember that, people. I don't really think the insurance is out here wanting to pay for your healthcare services forever for a long time, because that's what rules these services now. It's not human life or quality of life. It's how much it's going to cost them at the end of the day to provide those services for you. It's not whether you need them, whether they're necessary or not. And it's just, it sucks to know that, but it's important to remember that when you're advocating for yourself and you are fighting for these healthcare services and your human rights, because that's what they are at the end of the day, people.
Yeah.
They are your human rights to be healthy and to be happy and to be functional and to be independent and safe, as you want to be and as you can be. Um, so, so yeah.
These are
Uh,
my thoughts on that.
yeah.
Is, and maybe I'm being too generous, but I think people in the healthcare system and even down to nurses and doctors, and not all of them by any stretch, but I feel like we're just the widget that they're working on. Like any job that you spend years and years doing, and you're just, if you're manufacturing or you're dealing with insurance claims or, whatever you're doing, they all kind of run together after a while. And I think sometimes as human beings in the healthcare system, we're just the latest widget. When we leave the doctor's office, another, I don't know if everybody knows that term, I might be dating myself, but it's just that next person comes in, and there is no real human connection sometimes. So I don't think consciously they want us to die, but I
Yeah.
think at some points it just doesn't enter their mind really that we're scared maybe when we come in there about the potential for something, or we're anxious about not getting that service to get that care we want, to get to that level of quality of life that we want. Yeah. So, and
I
I don't mean to let them off the hook, but I think that's kind
no,
of what happens.
I totally agree with you, Doug, because when you're in the hospital, it's, your doctor comes and sees you and your nurse comes to see you. When they leave that door, they're going to go see, your doctor's going to go see 10 or 15 more patients, maybe even more before he even goes to his office and then see the patients who have gotten out of the hospital. Then
Yeah.
your nurse, she comes in and you're like, I'm in pain. Can I get something? Yeah. I'm in the middle of this, and that. And okay, I'll get it for you because she sees 5 patients, so it can make us feel like that. But I know at the end of the day, they are fighting for us. I mean, first for myself, who have, been in the hospital, thought twice that I might be dying. They fought for, everything that I can to stay alive, from a cardiologist to my infectious disease doctor, um, and pulmonary doctors. I mean, they worked hard. Not everybody was great, but we have to remember, yeah, you are sort of a widget, just like if you worked at as basic as Subway, hi, can I take your order? Okay, now can I take your order? You do you want the lettuce or not? It becomes that, it becomes that way, and I think that's where when it is our lives on the spectrum, on that table, you're like, fight for me, and I think they do. I mean, there's some that there's always the some that don't, but um,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not, like shitting on the healthcare industry or anything like that. I mean, what, who I'm shitting on is like the heads of the insurance companies, the privatization of the insurance companies, mostly like the legislators that allow like a privatized healthcare industry to exist in the first place. That's gonna weigh like the well-being and the cost, and like human lives against like cost. And yeah, like I mean, I trust all my doctors and anybody that's like like spent their lives educating themselves and taking the Hippocratic oath to protect all life and stuff. Like heck yeah, I've had so many amazing positive experiences with nurses and CNAs and even just like janitorial staff or like food workers and stuff in hospitals that like came in and smile and joke at me and make me feel good and make me feel human and stuff. Like and I'm sure just as many amazing people working for the insurance companies too. They're taking our phone calls and giving us the bad news and listening to us and reading the prompt that they're given by the higher ups and stuff. But um, I'm talking about y'all know who I'm talking about. The people that don't have the interests of us at heart, and the ones that are responsible for the system that causes so much pain and suffering and loss of life every day as a result of their greed.
And we got
Um,
we had a question from Black Olive, and if anybody else has some questions for Doug, as we wrap up here, put them in the chat. We definitely want to get to those and have him answer anything you guys might want. But Black Olive asks if anyone's heard of Amazon's One Medical. So I don't know.
Is that where
yeah,
you
yeah,
get,
I just read about it today in the Washington Post.
Oh, really?
is that where you get your prescriptions? So like a
It's like
pharmacy?
it's included in your Prime $9.95 a month healthcare plan offered by Amazon. I do not know the details. It sounds like a little scary. It sounds a little cyberpunk, but like big corporate, multi-hundred-billion-dollar corporation ruling the world. We're not going to provide you healthcare and track your health and potentially use the information to I don't know, do whatever they do with information like that. I don't know. It's kind of scary to me. I don't think. I mean, just like Blue Shield and um, all the other healthcare insurance companies that exist, they shouldn't be privatized. They shouldn't be a business because human life and healthcare isn't a business. Like we've turned it into a business, but it's not. It's like taking care of people, and like we just yeah, it's not a business. Like I mean, certainly the resources need to come from somewhere and stuff, but I don't know. That's like there we there's a way to provide. I sound like such a socialist right now. Everyone's like, oh, he's such a socialist, dude. And maybe I am at heart, but there's just so much. There's just such an abundance, and um, so little of it, I think, is utilized and used, and so much is wasted, and because of just like simple greed and stuff. Like it's crazy. But again, I'm gonna stop talking about this because we could talk about it forever. Doug, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As someone who is living and experienced disability your whole life, seem to also have passion for other human experiences, involving disability and stuff. If you had any advice, or if you could sum up any advice for anyone struggling with their disability, maybe new to their disability, what would you say to them?
Good question. Good question. Um, wow. I think right off, I would say to surround yourself with this community, because nobody else is going to get it like we do, and that would go a long way to helping your mental state. Because this battle isn't going to end. So you need some allies to help you fight it, and that could just be to help you stay mentally strong, so you can stay in the fight. They're not going to be able to change whatever challenges you're going through. That's going to be the medical community, but you need to be mentally prepared to be in that fight. So yeah, you need to you know have those people around you that care and support you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I do have a question for you, Doug. Now that you've been doing this for a couple of years, what's your favorite type of topic? And I think I kind of already know the answer, but like, what do you love to dive into when interviewing people and the type of guests you like to have? Which I think, we've learned about you and your podcast today. I think I probably know the answer, but go ahead.
Well, it just I'd like to be a bit more diverse. I mean, I appreciate you saying it is more of a spectrum, but Um, I've reached out to some people and haven't heard back from them yet, but we've been a bit mobility centric, I think, on our show, even just because that's the circle I travel in and that's who I know. And you're right, a lot of these folks are my friends and or people I volunteer with, that kind of thing. But I would like to get outside of that a little bit, and there's probably things out there. Well, I'm sure there are things out there I've never heard of that people are fighting, and so I'd love to hear those stories as well. Um, and I'm open to suggestions. I say this all the time on the podcast. The kind of the format of it. Everything. I'm open to suggestions. I certainly don't know it all, and I want to know what is going to um, what people are interested in and what's going to move that needle for them. If
Yeah.
we have to change, I'm not stuck in my ways. Just as we were kind of talking about earlier, I can learn new things. I appreciate Tom saying, kind of the OG, but I keep my mind open. I've learned some great things from my disabled friends. But there was a fellow that we had come and speak with my service group one time, and it was the funniest thing because we got on the topic of people helping you, and everything we do looks like we're struggling, first of all, right? So people want to help you, and that's great. And I never know what to say, back when I was getting my chair in and out of the car, because it's, how it is. You kind of have your routine, and, you just don't want to say no because they're being helpful, but you want to say no gently. But he said, what I say to him is just, no, thank you, but I don't have the time, or I'm in
Right.
a hurry.
Uh,
I, I never was able to bring myself to say that, but it's absolutely true, So,
yeah. And
but
Shawn answered it in the question in the chat, but we had a question of what your podcast was called, and it's
oh
the
yeah,
Walk and Roll podcast.
And
Um,
I
I
have
found it.
the I was gonna say I
Go ahead.
have the link too if you guys want to follow. The link is in the description, so you can get to their podcast on the website and listen to them all right there. So
Yeah,
it'll be
I really enjoyed it. I've learned it about you now, and Eric. Uh, Over the last few days, I like I said, I probably listened to 7 or 8. Um, this week, I've been doing a lot of my wheelchair pushing instead of riding, and so I was just popping on episode after episode, just
oh good,
and yeah, I just enjoyed it, and I think now I know why, because you're from. I enjoyed your voice and didn't know, the two and two together from the K Frog days. So
yeah.
that's a,
happy to learn that. And Eric is great. I wish he was still here. I have so many more questions for Eric, and because there was one thing that he said on one of the shows, and he's like, I can't get enough of how much I love to learn, and keep learning. He said something in that sense, I
Yep,
love
yep.
I learned to love learning, I think that's what he said. I
Hmm.
love learn to love or live learning. It was just like I was just like, wow, just amazed by him and his story, um, and your story as well, with so many of the other people you get. So I mean, please give it a listen. It's Walk to Roll podcast. There's another one, Walk to Roll. It
Get
looks
roll.
no walk and roll, and then or there's a
Yeah, there was another Walk and Roll that when I looked it up a couple weeks ago, and so you can find yours have the one with the most update, and you can see the picture of a cartoon picture of Doug and Eric there.
Yeah, and
yeah, it's
Eric.
a
Yeah,
cool graphic.
I thought it was so clever when I came up with that name, and then when you do a search, yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of things.
there
Uh,
was only one other, so don't worry about it.
Let's give a big shout out to the peeps listening. Let's Roll just hit 11,000 subscribers last week, and we
Whoa!
just hit 10, and now we're at 11, and it's like growing.
I was gonna say
So
we're actually at 11,000 like 200. In the last week, we've gotten about 200 subscribers. So keep them flowing. We have one of my
wow.
transfer videos is getting like 5,000 views a day right now on YouTube. So go watch it. Give us some more views. Share it. Get some people subscribing. We need to boost the numbers.
Um, but it's cool. It's cool to be connecting to so many people and to just feel so much love and support for what we do here, because that's why we do it. Is to connect with as many of you as we can. So that's just super super cool.
And Shawn in the
Get
chat said, "Great voice for radio." No, yeah, you you
Thank
do
you.
have an amazing radio voice, and that's why,
I think that's
yeah,
why I
you're
did it so
so easy to
long.
listen to.
Yeah.
Shout out Shawn. Shout out Daryl. Shout out WJ Weaver. Thank you so much for the $5. Mr. Jeff for the $50 earlier, dude. We just really, really, really appreciate the support, the monetary support too,
And
because yeah, it helps us, keep doing this and
and
keep doing it better and bigger.
And don't
and to
forget to
thank you
smash
guys, we
that.
also should probably thank our sponsors. I don't know, Tom, you want to do that this time?
Yeah,
Sponsor?
man. Big, big shout out to mobility professionals and urology professionals. If you are lucky enough to be in the beautiful Southern California area, Mobility Professionals is your one stop shop for all your mobility related needs: wheelchairs, durable medical equipment, standing frames, and the like. They'll help you get set up. They're awesome individuals that understand our needs, enable us to be functional in the best and latest and greatest mobility aids. And they give a lot of love to the community. So go show them some love. And also, their sister company, Urology Professionals, is nationwide. So anywhere in the beautiful U.S. of A. If you find yourself needing catheter supplies and you're struggling to get them, give them a call, because they have the know-how and the understanding, and they can help you understand your insurance, what you got access to, and talk to your insurance if you need them to, and just figure things out on that end to get you catheter supplies, because nobody should need or want urological supplies if you require them. So give Urology Pros a call, let them know Live to Roll sent you, and that we love them, and give them some love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
We
Hey,
really
Tom,
appreciate our sponsors. Thank you guys.
one
yeah.
quick question. So I heard in high school you were using crutches. When did you have to start using the wheelchair? Because you said something about you. I know you have a smart drive now, and when
Yeah.
did you start using your wheelchair?
I got to a point probably when I was 45-ish, something like that, where I could still go to things like Disneyland or the fair and walk all over the place, but it would take me 2 or 3 days to recover. It just kicked my ass. So we went to the fair, me and a buddy one time, and we kind of made a joke as we're going in the fair, because they have all the, we called it a lark, the little scooter out front that you can rent, and I kind of said, dang, I'm going to rent a scooter. And then I kind of looked at him and said, I'm going to rent a scooter. So I did it that day, and it was so great. Got
Mhm.
around easier, got to see everything, and didn't have 3 or 4 days of recovery afterwards. I immediately went to the doctor, got a prescription, got a chair. So basically, in the beginning, real quick, is I just used it for things like that. But then slowly but surely over the years, I found myself, using it to go into Target, using it to, do those kinds of things. Till one day, I just started using it to go into work. That walk from my car into the building was like, climbing Mount Everest to me some days. So, it's got to come. And I want to say this to anybody that's listening, that, because of pride and ego, we all have that is fighting getting into a chair. One of the things that helped me with that was, I was losing my agility so much with the weakness and everything, walking on my crutches, that it's the place now that I can feel agile again.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
don't think of it as something that you're losing. Think of it as something that you're gaining. So,
No, and I've been one of those, 34 years plus in the using my manual, as someone with a C56 quad that usually we have some out there that do and some that most don't, and just struggling to use power until eventually I started using it and got a little scooter attachment to the that pops on the front of my chair, and I'm like, oh my god, why didn't I do
it
this?
took me so
You know,
long.
as I say, with other medical things I've done, but why didn't I do this sooner? And
Yeah.
and you're right, it was a nice little taste to have a little more freedom than being stuck in one spot. So we were at a sports festival a couple weeks ago, and I would have probably just been around the tennis courts, but instead I was zooming everywhere. Boom,
But
boom, boom,
every
boom,
time
boom.
I looked
Yeah.
over my shoulder, I would see Bobby flying by somewhere.
I've never had power,
Good.
so it was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that could be the power of it too. It's not so much like a disabling force or power. It's like an enabling tool and force that opens up more doors and more opportunity. And I mean, that's where your chair and any mobility aid device should be. Is a tool that allows you to be more functional and more independent and do more versus like a limiting force, because that's a disability. That's what you're using the aids to overcome, right?
And I think, disabled or not, I think we all can't stand that change when we get
Yeah.
older and have to
Yeah.
recognize it. I guess you can say it's like,
Hmm.
I yesterday when I came back from pushing, my neighbor asked me like, "Are you training for a race?" I said, "No, I'm just training to you know, try to stay healthy." And she's like,
Healthy.
"Oh yeah, I guess you have to do that too, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you do." But but I do like my power stuff too when I need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
So I give
helps
it.
so much. The mobility devices. They're tools, not hindrance. So yeah,
Yeah.
use them to your advantage. I just wanted to also shout out to our shows and stuff we got coming up here on the channel. Um, every Wednesday, Tom's up doing some gaming, playing some fun games. It's a cool hangout. If you guys want to join, send us a message, send Tom a message. You can probably hop on and game with him and stuff. It's
You don't
always
even
fun to
gotta
add
send me
people.
a message. You can just show up and I want to play a game. Thank you for that soundbite. I love it. But it's a cool time if you're into that. No pressure. So come and hang out. But shout out Viv, who's been hanging out the last couple weeks and doing some gaming with me. And Erica and Hell Wheels and all the other peeps that like in Mike Quad Boy Lee. We should do some gaming together tomorrow, dude. Um, that come and stop by because it is fun. If you have any interest in anything like that too, and you maybe don't feel like you can game or not really sure how to get started, get back into it, come and talk and let's have a conversation about it, because that's we like to do is talk about that and talk about how we can get you to join us and have fun and feel like you can do it because gaming's dope.
Gaming is.
Um,
I enjoy just watching it even too. I don't know if I'm much of a gamer, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Shawn doesn't know it yet. He's a gamer. We just have to find his game, turn him into one. Um,
For Sean
but
and
one day,
for Sean and I, it's get us Pac-Man or something, or Pong, and then we're good to go.
Pong. There we go. That's
Pong.
my
we're
speed.
gonna we're gonna immerse you guys into a high fidelity simulated universe. You're just gonna fully immerse and just like become connected. But enough about my gaming show. We got
All right.
other
So,
more fun shows.
then we got coming up. That's Wednesday. We got coming up on Thursday. We have Brianna coming on with the women's show. So that'll be a good show. That's the regular girls back. Maya, Jessica, Nikki, and Ashley will be on with
Gaming you
her.
can skip. Don't skip the Thursday show. Make sure to tune in at 3 because it's awesome. And Brown is super awesome. And all the literal ladies are super, super cool. So go
Yeah,
show them some. Check that show out.
Yeah.
amazing girls, amazing people. And then on the following Thursday, actually, not the following Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, but the following Thursday, the fifth Thursday this month, I think, we'll have a Rolling Over the Hill. Bobby will be on talking about aging with disability, the Robert and Luis.
We
So
have
that,
we have an amazing guest, hopefully coming on. Her name is Candace Cable. She's been a force in the disabled community with her athletics to working with New Mobility Magazine and really just an advocacy out there for us and still continues to be that. And I got to reconnect with her over the weekend or last weekend and can't wait to have her on.
awesome. Looking forward to that one too then. And next Tuesday, We have another live Live to Roll show. It's actually my birthday next Tuesday, so
Yay!
hang out.
Oh,
Do I think we're gonna even show some cooking skills and things for coming up on the holiday stuff. So come hang out next Tuesday. It'll be fun. And make sure to follow in the description the Walk and Roll podcast. I just got an email before the show. Doug already got my interview from this morning up on the website. So you guys, someone wants some more of my story and stuff, you can check that out. I talk about, pre-injury and kind of what it was like going through the injury and stuff like that. So if you guys want to check out the podcast, got a fresh one up today. Walk and Roll. So
Doug, thank you for being such a positive, inspiring force in the disabled community and in general. Wow, we appreciate you, man. Thank
I
you for
appreciate you guys.
and please
Thank
give
you,
our sincere, warm heart thoughts to Eric and tell him thanks for being on the show. We're going to have just him on the show and drill him the same way we were drilling you.
I like it.
You know,
I like it. And
we'll let
same
you
thing.
off the hook, and then we'll have to get to Eric.
I want to thank Shawn for coming on today, and I think I see some future episodes with Bobby and Tom on Walk and
Awesome.
Roll Live.
Love,
If you'll
love to be
accept.
there. Love to be there. I'm already accepted.
Awesome.
Same here.
All right. So it looks like they've got lots of future cool Walk and Roll, Live to Roll combo podcast stuff coming up, guys. So check it all out. Follow us, follow Walk and Roll. Make sure to stay connected to the community. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week, everybody. Live to Roll.
Live to roll.